It's overwhelming to be in a family dynamic that just flows like this. And no one steps on each other's toes, and no one judges anyone else, and there's no don't do this, don't do that. It's just the bros making it work, which is really great.
They really get on well, and if something goes wrong, they hop in a boat and go out fishing and sort it out.
Any of us comes up with an idea at any time, and then we have a family meeting kind of forum where we kind of work out the best way as a family to achieve the result that we want.
They're all unique, they're all passionate, they're all a little bit eccentric, and yeah, I don't know, it's just a sort of magic dynamic that just seems to naturally work.
Yes, it all happened back as a final year medical student, and shortly after I met Chris, she gave me a book for Christmas. It was just simply entitled Wine, and I fell in love with wine, and we got married about 14 months after you gave me that book.
Yes.
He got spellbound basically by the romance of wine, and then I think he thought, there's a future in this.
So we converted our garage into a winery, and while I was working at the hospital and busy seeing patients, in between times I would be involved in making this wine.
When Mum and Dad bought the property out here, which was in the mid-80s, it was myself and my three brothers that went out and helped plant the vineyard, and so that was pretty much our weekends and holidays taken care of for a good year or two.
They did the cuttings and planted them in the nursery, and
So they were involved from the start.
put the posts in.
Myself and all my three brothers have memories of trying to go and catch up with some mates and walk very, very quietly past the garage in case Dad were to hear us going past, because it would almost always end up with him asking for a quick hand in the winery, or the garage, which was never really a quick hand. It was always hours of standing there and holding a hose into a barrel while he was racking it.
91 I made in the garage, and that was the first vintage we did here. But Matthew joined us for the 92 vintage.
Matt was dealt a bit of a tough hand in his first vintage, where there was a lot of ash in the atmosphere from a volcano that had erupted in the southern hemisphere, and it was the two, I think, coolest years recorded in New Zealand just about ever, or for a very long time.
The big thing about the quality of wine that we're making now compared to 20 years ago, it's particularly been in the vineyard that the big changes have occurred. Our team out there are amazing, and basically they deliver us such good quality fruit.
He's very experimental. He's always looking to do better and understand the vineyard better, and I think that's been a huge part of Matt's learning curve, is just a lot of experimentation.
This entire block, starting from there to the other end, is all on its own roots, which means something to growers, but maybe not to other people. So it's just grown from cuttings, it's not grafted, and to me that means it's a true expression of that fruit. There's no intervention, there's no graft at the bottom that's changing the way the nutrients go through, and that's a real privilege, and these vines are 30 years old, so that's a great raw material to be working with.
When we came here, what we wanted was this. We were looking for stones that would reflect the heat, absorb the heat during the day, reflect it, and make the environment warmer. But they also add minerality to the wines, and as the grapes have got older, they've put their roots down further. You can notice that minerality, I think, in our wines. Most people thought we were totally crazy, and farmers were only happy to sell us this, a bit of stony land that wouldn't really support pasture very well. What lunatics, they thought.
Riesling's really the speciality of the region. It's got this specific character that's it's an orange zest, spicy kind of character, and it's totally unique to the region, which is really, really cool. Well, we find that the longer we leave the grapes on the vines for, the more hang time that they have, the more that character comes out.
Frequently, other people around the area have got most of their fruit in, and we're sort of waiting and going, well, it's not quite there, give it another week.
The amazing thing about Riesling is that people say that it's the variety that expresses the terroir, which is the soil, the place that it comes from, more than any other variety. You can make such a different variety of styles, and the German ones are very different from ours. I guess the one common thing with all good Rieslings is the elegance and the length that variety can deliver. That's exciting for New Zealand because there's very few regions in the world that can grow Pinot Noir successfully. It's a very fickle variety. Martinborough was the place that started getting recognition and realising that New Zealand could make nice Pinot. It's the very bottom of the North Island, which is actually almost on the same latitude as Marlborough, and then all of the grape growing regions in the South Island seem to be capable of making delicious Pinot, but each region's got its own unique characters, which is really cool and exciting as well.
When Paul came back to join the business, there was a looming feeling in Matt and I that, and I guess Mum and Dad as well, that someone at some point was going to need to step into the sort of the general manager role so that Mum and Dad could pull back a little bit and concentrate on some other areas.
I reckon probably half my job would be just making decisions that relate to the business on a day-to-day, being here doing, and half is a forecasting kind of big picture stuff where I'm working out sales and I'm working out what we want to do. And I mean, it's a hard thing if you think that we're selling our 2013 Pinot Noir now, because that's what our bottle aging, we think that works really well. But of course I've had to work out how much 14 we've already bottled, how much 15 we're about to bottle, how much 16 we bought in, and it works the same way for cash flows. Do we want to do some sort of building development or something that ties in with that? And you get a crystal ball and you just hope for the best, really.
I spent quite a bit of my time offshore, and around New Zealand, so travelling and catching up with our distributors. When I'm at the winery here, I spend a bit of time, obviously, in the office just communicating with distributors mainly. I oversee the tasting room here as well, so I've got an amazing right-hand lady, Heike, who's been with us for 20 years now, and she kind of cellar door sales manager, but I sort of oversee that and make sure that tasting room is running smoothly. Events as well, looking after people when they come to the winery and showing them what Pegasus Bay is about, and we sort of share that a bit between myself and my brothers as well.
Our food style here isn't really fussy, molecular, foamy stuff. It's all about the ingredients and not messing with them too much and just using really good quality ingredients. We're very relaxed and friendly and down to earth. There's no pretentiousness or yes, it's very formal, but the style of service also is very attentive and polished, but just sort of done hopefully in a gentle way that, it's all just going on, but yeah, people feel relaxed.
And finding the right chef. We don't like to hire a chef and then tell them what to cook, so we do tend to give the chefs quite a bit of room to express themselves in the food.
We've got so much amazing produce growing in the garden. I see more of that, more of our own produce we're using. And we're always trying to evolve but stay true to our heart at the same time.
Belinda's done a pretty amazing job. We won New Zealand's Best Winery Restaurant for about 8 years now, 8 out of 10 years I believe. She's certainly got a great vision. When we moved in here, it was just a completely flat paddock. If you know anything about the countryside of North Canterbury and you drive through in the summer, you'll see every paddock's brown. So you sort of, when you come into here now, it's a little bit of an oasis and that everything's quite green. My mother basically planted every tree with help from her gardeners. Mum had a vision.
I had a plan, but then I planted quite randomly all around the edges.
In fact, the whole winery was sited from the toilets.
Yes, it was sited from the
position of the toilets determined where the winery was going.
Well, this gorgeous photo in the middle of nowhere. Toilet.
And everything else flowed from that, so to speak.
If you come out here, a lot of people see Mum out in the garden or mowing the lawns, and they say, "Oh, is that your gardener?" or "Is that and it's sort of it's like, yeah, that's my mum. That's the boss. Yeah, she's not afraid of getting her hands dirty at all."
We're pretty laid back in our approach to business, and there's some formality there, but we're not very corporate, and we're not expecting people to come in and get greeted by someone at the door, take someone on a tour and does something. that's not us.
Most business models would say what we do is don't do that. Most business models would say you find a market, you create a product for that market, and that's successful business. So I don't go to Matt and come and say, this is trendy at the moment, we should be doing this.
We're not trying to do big volume, small margin. Like, we would just much rather have something, even if we didn't get paid a lot to do it, that we actually were proud to show people. We're quality focused. I don't want to see us making more wine. I want to see us making better and better wine.
It's just satisfying, taking something all the way from primary product all the way through, and when you get the wine in the bottle, finally, a couple of years down the track, or a year down the track if it's a Riesling, then when that screw cap goes on, and you're happy with the wine, it's a massive release of serotonin.
They built this business from the very ground up, and it's growing organically, and it's just such a beautiful stage now that our focus is on just making the best quality wine we can. And then what's really exciting is there's still the next generation to come, and so we're all really excited to see what happens there, who might want to come in. It's just going to be another gradual involvement, so the future is just there and ongoing.
I guess it's about, for us, authenticity. We try very hard to not pretend that we're something that we're not. Obviously we're a family business, we're not a big corporation, so we're certainly about hopefully hospitality and showing customers that to come to visit us here as much love as possible, so they leave with great memories, and making wine that's true to ourselves, to our region, to our vineyard as well, and to our own personal philosophy in terms of not making wine to follow any particular trend, but making wines that we really believe in.